It happened. On a certain day, Shankaran Pillai purchased a boat, a 40-foot ultra-luxurious yacht for $10 million. He decided to take his new Puerto Rican bride out on the ocean for a romantic cruise. On the way, misfortune struck. The yacht hit a rock and was wrecked. As the brand-new boat sank into the ocean, Shankaran Pillai and his wife managed to extricate themselves. They swam for their lives and finally made their way to the shores of a nearby islet, a sandy sliver of land floating in the middle of nowhere, completely devoid of vegetation. Shankaran Pillai and his wife had a few tins of canned food. They knew these would last them only a couple of days, and they were in a fix. Unperturbed, Shankaran Pillai settled down in a yogic posture and assumed a serenely spiritual expression. His wife, however, was of a more volatile disposition. "We are marooned," she wept. "There is no human habitation in sight, no sign of any life here, no animals, no plants, nothing. What will we live on? How will we get out? What a terrible end to our dreams of marital bliss! What a terrible end to our lives!" Shankaran Pillai continued to sit in his yogic posture, unruffled. His wife was bewildered. "How can you sit like this? Don't you realize we are doomed? Can't you see we are going to die?" Shankaran Pillai looked at her with calm compassion. "My dear, don't distress yourself," he said. "What I did not tell you before our wedding is that I have a history. I had previously availed myself of a student loan when I was studying in Tennessee. After my studies, I went to New York without repaying the loan. I was caught by my creditors 3 months later. But I managed to elude them and went away to California. There I got myself a car. Since I got myself a car loan, I said, why settle for a small car? I decided to get myself a Rolls-Royce with pure gold trimmings, and I took $2 million loan to purchase the vehicle. Since I thought life would be somewhat difficult for me there, I took the car to Oregon. But they followed me there too. After that episode, I took a home loan for $5 million. I then happened to go to Mexico, but they followed me there 6 months later. After that, as you know, I married you and bought this yacht in Texas for $10 million. I haven't paid the first installment yet, so don't worry, stay calm, don't panic, they will find us. They always do." Shankaran Pillai's faith that he would be found, or more accurately, his realization that he could never escape his creditors, is a phenomena that rest of the world knows by another name, karma. The inescapable basis of our lives, the mechanism that decrees that we cannot evade the consequences of our own actions, the cycle that appears to follow us grimly and inexorably wherever we go. Although the word is Indian in origin, karma is now a term that has invaded every dictionary. It is not merely the stuff of metaphysical tomes and academic treatises. It is instead a term that has pervaded lexicons across the world, from the esoteric to the pop. How did this Sanskrit term enter every single language in the world? How do we account for this extraordinary popularity, its capacity to endure across centuries? There are many possible ways to explain this, but perhaps the primary explanation is just this: karma is the only concept in the world that addresses human perplexity in the face of suffering. It is the only logic that explains the seeming arbitrariness of the world we live in. How else do we understand the pervasiveness of human anguish? How do we explain the horrors of war and terminal illness, the mute agony on the faces of starving children and traumatized prisoners, the unending catalogue of savagery and conflict that has been the human experience for as long as we can remember? Moreover, how do we answer these ancient questions? Why do terrible things happen to good people? Why does fortune so often favor those who seem cruel or unkind or morally compromised? Why do life circumstances seem so random and capricious? Why does it feel sometimes that God, if one exists, must be playing marbles with the world? Why does the universe so often seem such a hostile, lawless, ungoverned place? Perhaps no other word answers that bewildered human why, as well as karma has or can. For far too long, the word has been either grotesquely oversimplified or needlessly mystified. It is time to explore the concept more deeply. It is time to unpack the most overused, abused, and yet indispensable word in the spiritual vocabulary of the world. It is time to examine how karma is connected to some of the most vital areas of human inquiry, the meaning of life, and above all, how to live it.